Good morning, welcome. Today we are sewing a classic pajama shirt with a collar, long sleeves, and button-up front. So as you can see, my setup changed a little bit because I moved 1 week ago. That's also why I haven't posted for a long time. So yeah, don't mind the mess behind me. I'm still in the process of arranging everything. However, let's get into this video. In the last video, I showed you how to sew the perfect pajama pants. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend watching it first. I started with the pants because they are simpler in terms of construction. You only need 2 patterns, so the front and back pant pattern and an optional pocket flap for the pockets. The shirt is a little bit more complicated in this respect. However, if you're just starting to sew, don't get discouraged because there is plenty of elements in this project that you can practice your sewing skills. Like for example, you can practice sewing buttonholes, sewing on buttons, hand sewing, basting, and how important it is, as well as sewing on fitted sleeves. So starting with the materials, light cotton or linen will work best. Natural materials are the softest for the skin, and it is very important when sewing pajamas so that they are comfortable while you wear them. So I chose a 100% cotton satin with jacquard stripes in a heather color. It is a duvet cover that I found secondhand. The best part is it had a button closure, so I could spare the buttons for the shirt. It is of course the same material I used for the pants as I'm sewing a set. As for the pattern, I used 2 vintage Burda patterns from the same magazine from 1995, and I combined them together to achieve the shirt pattern that I wanted. So I used this pattern as the base for my shirt and the sleeves due to its oversized simple cut. And from this dress I took parts of the collar, so the collar piece and the front facings. You can also use a shirt you already own and like the fit of, and you can trace it and make the pattern yourself. Or if you feel really confident in your pattern making skills and your construction skills, you can also modify the basic bodice and sleeve pattern. Okay, anyway, I will show you how I did it. First, I reduced the front and back pattern to the length I wanted my shirt to be. Then I folded the front facing of the shirt so it's out of my way. I placed my facings, the one that I took from the dress pattern, on the front pattern so that they matched along the front line. And I matched the back and front piece at the shoulder and measured the neckline from the notch till the middle part of the neck to know how much I needed to add to the collar pattern. So I ended up adding 3 centimeters to the middle edge that is placed on the fold. And basically that's it. I moved all the notches, so those on the collar and those on the fronts and facings, and I left the sleeves as they were. So we should have 2 front pieces mirrored, 1 back piece cut on fold, 2 sleeves mirrored, 2 front facings mirrored and both interfaced, 2 collar pieces and 1 interfaced. Start by placing the front pieces to the back piece, right sides together, and stitch the shoulder seams and the side seams. Press the seam allowances open and overlock the raw edges. Now work the collar. Place the collar pieces right sides together and stitch the sides and the longer edge, leaving the bottom part open. Now trim the corners and the seam allowances, make small notches and turn the collar right side out. Top stitch the under collar, the one with the interfacing, 1 millimeter from the seam. Remember about catching the seam allowance underneath. Do it on all 3 edges. Now, to connect the collar to the bodice, find the middle of the back piece and the middle of the collar. Then pin only the under collar to the neck hole. Use the notches on the collar to match them with the shoulder seams and then match the end of the collar to the notch on the front pieces. Pin in between and stitch. This part is a little bit tricky because of the curves of the collar and the neckline. So to make it easier, you can hand baste this part or just place more pins in between. Okay, the collar is now in place, and now let's prepare the front facings. Overlock the outer edges of the facings, the shorter edges and the longer one. Then place the facing on the front piece, pin along the edge until the shoulder seam. Stitch catching both pieces of the collar and repeat for the other side. trim the corners, turn them right side out, press, and the color is almost ready. To finish the seam inside, at the neckline of the back piece, press the seam allowances to the inside. Fold the top collar to the inside for about 1 centimeter. It should exceed the seam line by about 1 millimeter. Now pin this section and hand baste it to keep it in place, and so you can see it on the right side. Now you can take out the pins and stitch in the ditch on the right side of the shirt, so stitch exactly onto the collar seam. Now take out the basting stitches, press everything, and now we can start on the sleeves. Fold the sleeves in half, right sides together, and stitch the sides. Press and overlock the seam allowances. Now attach the sleeves to the armholes, pin and start sewing from the underarm seam and go all the way around. This might be tricky as well, so take your time, place more pins if you need to, or even baste this section before sewing. To hem the sleeves, I suggest you try on the shirt first and mark where you want them to finish. Then fold the edges by about 1 centimeter and the second time by the amount you need to receive the desired length of your sleeve. In my case, it was 4 centimeters. So pin all the way around and sew. Now hem the bottom of the shirt. First, stitch the facings to the front pieces to create a neat corner. Then fold the edge of the shirt by 0.5 centimeter twice and sew. Okay, now on the right front piece, mark the placement for the buttonholes. I decided on 4 buttons spaced every 8 centimeters, but you can also do less or more depending on the size of the buttons or your own preferences. Make the buttonholes. Rip the inside using a seam ripper. Then mark the position of each button. Hand stitch the buttons onto the left front piece, and voila, your shirt is ready. So yeah, that's it from me. I hope you learned a thing or two from this sew along tutorial. I hope you try it out. See you next time. Bye.